Okay, I think we're live. Okay, yeah. Let me just confirm from LinkedIn. Okay, live. Whoa, okay. Good evening, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon from wherever you're tuning in from. Thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of An Hour with the Manager live podcast today. Um, as usual, we're going to be here for as long as, and it's another Thursday. You know, every week when it gets to Wednesday, I'm already feeling nervous. Hey, we're going to have another podcast again. We're going to be on the screen again. But it's always an amazing thing when you get to realize that you don't have a choice. You just have to do it. You have to do it, and because it's something you signed up for and it's something that is valuable. If it wasn't valuable, I'm not sure I'll still be here. But because of the benefit I get from it, so that's enough motivation to keep me going, keep my team going, and keep us believing in what we are doing. And so we also say thank you very much for sparing out your time to tune in on Thursdays like this to to share these informations with us, get to share links across with your friends, folks, colleagues, and let's learn and share valuable information together. So, welcome everybody to another episode of An Hour with Manager podcast. And today, I have here with me Nicole Cotton, a very wonderful guest who is going to tell us more about herself and share valuable information for us to get to plan ahead 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, even 100 years from now on the future of education, the future of what business is going to look like and workforce itself. Good to have you on the show, Nicole. How are you doing?
I am happy to be here. I always love and appreciate opportunities to meet people from around the world. So this is validation on countless levels.
I appreciate it. That's wonderful. Thank you very much for here. And today, Ubong Matthew, the host for this discussion, and I hope while you're here, like I said, I won't really, I won't be satisfied, 100% satisfied if you're here alone and not sharing the link across to your friends, to your loved ones, to your colleagues. Please do well to share it across. Don't be greedy on this. Let's share the information across. Do well to share it. Send it to your colleague, your coworker, those friends that have been asking you to share information and updates for them. Do well to send this link across. Let's learn together. And you can join us on YouTube, and you can also join us on Twitter if you don't have access to LinkedIn, right? So, or you can still connect us with your browser. Just with the same link, you can still connect us with your browser. So thank you very much, everybody. Okay, so on our previous live broadcast, right? Live podcast, we've been having discussions on HR. We've been talking about employee engagement. So the past 3 weeks, we've looked at go-to-market strategy. We've talked about how to support new people and employee, right? New people manager, and get to understand the basics, understand what managers need to do, what employers need to do to keep them down, right? Because as a new manager, it's a new space. You might have friends, and all of a sudden, because you're a manager, everyone you find out that nobody's going to become your friend anymore because you have to deal with it because you're now controlling everybody, you're now controlling them. But our guest Nicholas on our last live podcast was able to share that information. Please, if you've not been able to consume that, do well to check up on our feed and get to learn information from that. So today, our conversation today with Nicole will drive us a little bit out of what we've been doing before. Let's, if, in as much as we try to prepare the future managers, prepare the future employees, prepare for the future of work, but that everything goes back to the basics. So what's the basics? Looking at the primary school, looking at where we think it's that number one space you should always be learning from the formal education, right? Compared to then when you have to always go to school, is it that you always have to only sit down to learn theories, only sit down and learn 1 plus 1 on the board without putting them into practice, right? How can we transform education to be more of practice and more of learning and putting it into practice, right? For you to get better, because the more you practice, the more you get better at it, then the more you attain mastery. So today, our guest would share in-depth information, and trust me, she has lots of information, lots of insights. We're supposed to have a slide here. If you're not able to join us on that, please do well to click on the link in the comments, and then you find a slide that is going to guide us through this discussion today. Trust me, it's something that you should be looking out for right now. So do well to share it across with your friends, man. Let's learn together. So, yeah, Nicole.
Yes, sir, Yvonne.
Thank you very much. And how were you doing when you got the invite? Planning for this very discussion today. How did you feel? How did that make
Yeah,
you feel?
I gotta, I have to tell you, there's certain things you put out there, and you plant the seed and you hope it grows. And literally, this is my fourth of 5 conversations from different parts of the world,
Wow.
which helped me feel like messages of purpose are being amplified. So that's rewarding. But thank you, and thank you for this opportunity.
That's a good one. And we're also grateful to be one of those channels where you get to share those informations with.
And I did want to mention the slides that we'll make available. All they are is a collection of data, really. And so whenever I speak on purpose about purpose, I try to anchor my sound bites based on research and efficacy that's
Okay.
bigger than me, so that that way I'm not just speaking out of my neck, but I'm truly coming from a view of data points from around the world and across time.
Thank you for that in depth. And I'm sure we'll get the best value out of this. Okay. Yeah, so to move into this discussion today, I would like to know, let's our audience also get to know. We're seeing Nicole Cotton, CEO of Q-Factor Consulting, and everyone is wondering who's Nicole, what's Nicole been doing, what's the great Nicole all about. Please, I'd like to hear more information about you. Please just walk us through to who you are.
Oh, what an honor. So I call myself a trusted advisor.
Okay.
I am an individual who understands and has been watching different themes play out before our eyes and have been very transparent with purpose. I'm very grateful to have friends that are all over the world and in a number of positions, whether they are CEOs or any C levels within organizations, or our wonderful superintendents, whether that be superintendents of districts here stateside, or secretaries of education across some of the pillars across the United States. I've really had a chance to get into the heads and hearts of humans that really want to make a difference. And so, with that role of trusted advisor, I am gathering constantly data points that help us become better humans and do better for the world, because there's a lot of work to be done.
Oh, thank you very much for that in depth. And it's quite an amazing journey. Looking at 30 years back, if you had to do it again, do you think it's going to be a path you accept?
Are you going to, wait, say that question again? Because I hope we're not going into politics.
No, not going into politics. I'm saying that looking at your amazing journey, right? If you had to sit back to as a little child or little girl to ask yourself, would you do it again? Looking at what you've been able to carry on so far.
That's an excellent question, because when I meet strangers and they have this look on their face, and I can tell they haven't yet found their purpose, and they're just potentially in a day-to-day job, just tirelessly working because they need to bring home the check. And I'm a believer that purpose comes to you. It comes to you. As long as you seek it, it will find you. And that's when you know we've been positioned to deliver on something bigger than ourselves. And so, to answer your question, if I had to do it all over again, pitfalls aren't fun, but they're great learning ground for being the better you. So we can't win lotto and every day we can't fall into a hole of $1 million. You can't run into a gazillionaire who wants to magically say, oh my goodness, where have you been all my life? You've got to figure out what's your purpose, what is the why, anchor on it, and then create from there. So yes, I would do it all over again. There
You
may
know, you know,
there's
when
some
you
parts I might add a little extra gauze and band-aids, but I would do it all over again.
but if I should take you back, you've mentioned purpose like more than 4 or 5 times. So what's your own purpose? What's your own purpose in life?
My purpose is to bring educators, leaders, those that understand the work that is to be done together and organize it in a way that we have very specific goals to get to where we're trying to go. Transformation does not happen by itself. And you'll hear a lot of speakers and authors talk about growth mindset and what it means to really lean in and do more, be more. But when we're also looking at a bench of folks that frankly just want to hear themselves speak, but don't understand how words have depth and really move mountains. Um, we're in a space that we've got to be better humans.
That's deep. But the world today the world today is housed with different character, different human, different type of personality, different thinking, different thought process, and being able to bring everybody together to think alike. It's one thing. I don't know. I mean to call that an extreme sport.
Ooh, I did not say to think alike. You bring up a very valid point, and I am also I'm a fan of a number of different assessments.
Okay.
So working around a myriad of educators as well as uh, visionaries, you always want to identify common ground to learn how we collaborate together. Now, what I don't like is when we have a homogenous group of the same, right? The goal isn't for us all to think the same, do the same, be the same. That is not the goal. In fact,
Okay.
there's research that proves that the more different we are and diverse within an organization, the better output for that organization, because it's the purpose we want to wrap our arms around. The individuality of all of the contributors, that's what makes the magic sauce happen, because we need to be able to address different learning styles, different walks of life, different ways of even how people see themselves, how they love, how they give, what they do. And so if we can build or understand what that red line looks like, and literally capture that in a moment, anchored around a singular goal and objective, that's when harmony happens.
And this alone is sounds like a thing that needs to come on, like what do you call it, maybe organizations establishing what do you call it, trainings to promote processes like this, because for you to get people to from different diversity, from different way of thinking, different culture, come on board to do the same job, like finding yourself in a technical team, right? And you're having a designer from Egypt, you're having a back-end developer from Europe, and all of that coming together with different tradition and different culture. But at the end of this, for the common goal, and I'm sure organizations will be able to put their employees right to achieve the best goal. But for us to get in depth into this discussion today, because at the end of the day, it still cuts across business priorities, cuts across trends, cuts across diversity, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are the most critical business priorities for the next generations of professionals that you can easily say?
So, it's the first question, then easily see that's like they don't go together, right? Because I don't know if anything that we're looking at is necessarily easy. If it was easy, everybody would be a gazillionaire. Um, I put in my notes, and I did a little bit of digging, and I located from Forbes the top 10 business priorities for the next generation. And I thought, well, this is an interesting list. And for those that aren't seeing that in front of you, at the top of the list is generative AI is everywhere. I think we all know that by about now. And it does illustrate a number of other things. The second, which I found interesting, was soft skills and the human touch. Now realize the dichotomy between AI and human, right? AI is merely taking everything we could ever imagine, amassing all of that information to come up with a list of best used tools, practices, processes from from a lot of information. And the fear factor here, with the second one being the human touch and soft skills, is that AI does not have soft skills. It does not have a human factor. It is merely bits and bytes. And so, as you look across the list, and without touching on all of these, because many of them also include everything from personalization at scale to looking at data, the fact that we're now seeing a lot more remote workers versus, and to your point, Ubang, with having different team members across the world. That's the beauty of technology, that we can literally locate the best talent for whatever we're trying to do anywhere in the world from any age group using technology. The scary part, and I will reference this for those that look at 60 Minutes or are familiar with 60 Minutes, the godfather of AI, Jeffrey Hinton, was on there a few weeks ago. And that was actually a republished broadcast that he had done like the month before, but it included content from 15 years ago when he first started touching the surface of the power of AI. Here's what terrified me but got me excited at the same time. He basically said, listen, I've been looking at this AI. I created this thing 40 years ago.
40
And
years ago.
40 years ago.
Yeah.
But going back 15 years ago, when it was pretty much nearing its maturity of being able to understand its relevance across different use cases, not like today with Chat GPT, but he was still kicking the tires. In the CBS 60 Minutes episode a few weeks ago, this man got in there and said, yeah, I'm kind of scared. Didn't realize that what I was creating was going to potentially put people out of jobs, potentially at some point not see why we need humans. And we've seen this play out in so many fictional shows, but the relevance is potentially there. At the end of the day, we are needing to leverage technology, AI included, in its best way possible, but still protect the sanctity of human kindness, human touch, human thought, human purpose. And that's why I'm now encouraging and seeing somewhat of a shift from organizations that are tech friendly, tech adjusted, transformational friendly, of a role that protects the human, right? So this isn't HR, which, like, yay HR all the way, HR baby, have lots of senior executive HR people in my family. I'm grateful to know many organizations that are led by people that I call friend, that are building solutions for HR. No, not in any way um, dousing a flame for HR requirements, because right now we desperately need HR to kind of make sure that we even the playing field, and that anyone and everyone that is skilled and has a desire to work and be passionate employees of any organization, that they're better, that they're vetted, and that there's ways to do it. So I actually applaud my HR teams. I'm looking at the individual that says, not only am I looking at skill sets, but I understand the vision of the company. I
Okay.
understand the purpose that our products and solution services are here to protect and support, and for whom. I know that with any company, anywhere, there is some type of competitive bench, right? And
Okay.
that at the end of the day, you've got some form of marketing, some type of sales, some type of sales operations, all of these things, even obviously chief revenue officers that have responsibility for a myriad of these things, including our strategic partnerships. All of these are lovely and important. And for those companies that can afford all of that talent, lovely, good for them. I do mentor many, many, many companies weekly. What I'm saying is we need to see and protect that human denominator with a position almost called a transformation officer. A transformation officer is someone that says, I am here to make sure that my colleagues, my chief revenue officer, my heads of sales, my heads of marketing and branding have a voice, and that I stay on top and with them, tethered to what's going out to represent who we are as an organization, and that it's aligned with the CEO's vision. Because as this team continues to ideate and evaluate new strategies with inputs from competition, this transformation officer is making sure that we don't take technology for granted, but we always protect our people, because that is the most precious part of any organization, are our people. And so that's something that I hope we see more of in the future. I'm now, as I'm following different large companies that help hire and are viewed more as hiring teams, I'm now seeing language shift to promote this type of position. And I think it's just a result of technology getting a bit squirrely.
So, you've mentioned something about bringing AI, looking for a way to bring humans and AI to find a balance, right? That's generative AI and the rest. In your own context, do you think that it's possible to find that balance between AI and humans?
I don't think we have an option. I think we have to figure. I think that's something that we all have a responsibility to figure out. And if you are a leader, whether you are a superintendent, a CEO on the C team of any company, we have to be humanitarians first. We have to figure out how to promote Maslow's hierarchy. We all want to eat, drink, sleep, have a roof over our heads, and hopefully have a family and a legacy. And so if we truly want that, then it's not an option. We've got to figure it out.
So how have you been able to figure that out for your own brand?
So that's a lovely question. So two things that I am I've supported and I'm pushing. It's just probably a lot more than two. One is, again, I've got a lot of really smart friends and colleagues that I call friend, and to have one-on-one with a C-level or with a superintendent or their chiefs of academics has been lovely across my decades of time. The ears that I've been getting into lately are more of our chief technology officers, our chief information officers, those folks that need to understand, whether it be an organization or a school system, how critical the technology has to align with the vision of the school, the district, or the organization, and how technology is used judiciously so that we protect the human. So with that, in terms of the projects that I'm entertaining, there is that understanding and respect for the technologist's role. And many of the leaders that I've been collaborating with, many that are the CTOs and superintendents, these are folks that have said, I want to be a better steward of what's to come. And they're willing to put their brand out there and speak on these topics and even author on these topics. And so that's where I'm kind of putting I'm putting my flag in the ground, and I'm saying it's a rally cry for those that understand tomorrow is not promised, but we have a part to play to make it better. That's when the real work begins, and that's where partnership is established. And the projects that I'm currently doing, as well as those that are saying, don't forget about us. And I will soon be evaluating a few more clients added to my personal Q-Factor roster. They're common denominators that I need to see, which anchor in some of the things we've talked about already.
So, you know, understanding all of this and trying not to be scared, right? Trying not to be scared that AI is definitely might just wake up tomorrow and then we find ourselves not being able to do anything. Because for me, I feel like having AI around us is more or less like humans being relaxed, right? Everybody's becoming very relaxed. Like in the e-commerce space, what I like to talk a little about, because humans, every one of us, including myself, right? I am beginning to feel comfortable to just sit at home and then request for what I need. And then it comes to my doorstep, right? You don't have to always go out every time to do that. And you can have that either as a bot comes to deliver the stuff for you. But now, from your own journey, right? How is this AI? How have you seen AI, or what do you think AI is going to be doing to impact education, right? From the primary schools, from the kindergartens, where these guys don't really know what they're thinking about, right? They're just there, but their brains are very smart. They're very smart to absorb anything.
So what I'm not going to ever do is say AI is bad. It's a no-no. It is a game changer. It's a time saver, and when used properly, it has helped open the door to far more possibilities than we had before. What I'm saying is, while understanding and respecting it and putting it in its proper box,
Mhm.
now the freedom potentially that we've been given to evaluate new strategies, new solutions, new opportunities, now we have to look at it differently. So I'll give you an example. Um, up till recently, there are behemoth speakers bureaus that will create speaking opportunities upwards to six figures for certain folks that can motivate a crowd and have the titles already and are authored in X, Y, and Z. And I applaud them for being the project manager of all of these speaking opportunities, because it makes it easier for speakers to say, who am I talking to? What do I need to talk about? How much money am I making? Blah, blah, blah. Great for them, right? But now what I'm seeing, because of technology and the transparency that anyone can be looked up. Now, you could look your name up and you might be surprised at I did that for giggles when I'm like, oh my goodness, that's not even true. Because you find things that aren't true,
Yeah,
right? Or you
because
find people that have your name and you're like, well, uh-oh, that's not me. And then think somewhere in the middle, hopefully, is the truth. You've got organizations, many, that will create platforms for people to speak and share their time of whatever that is, but that organization is the one managing the purse strings and technically potentially editing or managing what's being said. We're now in a space where there's so much content available that if you truly are someone of purpose and conviction, you should have the full opportunity and autonomy to manage your brand, share with the world who you are, why you are, what you want to be when you grow up, the things that you're proud of, and even the things that were kicking the you know what, because life is not easy.
of
and
course,
but navigate that journey so that it's coming from you and not being positioned by a third party. And that's where I believe this transformation of speakers bureau is now moving into a different space where it's more of a 360-degree lens of that author, that speaker, to provide validation and evidence of, I believe in these three things. Here are proof points of it that you can grow with me and see it produced on a daily basis. And these are the thought leaders that once we understand who they are and how they rock, then you can get behind these people. Because sometimes just a 15-minute or an hour conversation is just, sprinkles on the icing of a 10-layer cake. And you really want to really understand and build that journey, even if this person is in another country speaking another language. AI is great for that in terms of translation tools. But the folks that I've been talking to of late, many of these are authored, are superintendents, or looking to retire soon, or C levels. they've said, listen, I'm ready to take this gift I have and move it to other continents. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And they're like, okay, let's do it, because it can be done now. And it can be done in a way that allows everyone to see themselves the way they want to be seen, and also create a space to have dialogue like this to demystify any parts of the narrative that the I call them the hangry hippos, those that really are just noise, right? They're always going to be folks that are noise in your ear to tell you what you can't do, what you're never going to do, who you're never going to be, and those
Yeah.
people, the toxins,
I feel like they're motivators, right?
they gotta go.
but it also, I think they play a role in our life in one way or the other.
You have to know when it's time to say, it was a good ride and we had fun, but when you are focused on a goal, and you're seeing evidence of its maturation, you've got to that's the hardest thing for people to do, is to clip the wings of those that were in the ear saying the things you don't want to hear. And so that's something, we'll save that for another day. But it is part of also knowing that you're on the precipice of something great when you're being tested again, another test, to see, what are we willing to do to perfect our brand, to define our why, to grow exponentially into a whole nother area of purpose. And it's a lot of homework, right? We're not sitting around eating junk. We're working out, we're fueling our bodies, we're fueling our minds. We are requesting for divine input of, who do you want me to be? How can I be a better me? And you're doing the research, you're gathering the data. And that's where I'm also reaching out to everyone on this link, many of whom, those that I invited, are straight boss. I know I am grateful to be someone who has many leaders that give me time. And sometimes it's just a rapid fire. How you doing? Where's the kids? How's the husband? How's the wife? Where's the dog? Then it's, what are you doing? And it's, and then it's, they'll let me literally, and this is like a 25-30 minute call. We'll get through all that, and I'll maybe present 3 or 4 amazing solutions that I think are moving the world into a different space. And we throw it out there, the good, the bad, and the ugly, with examples, and we move on. These are the people that don't have time to sit around and watch TV all day. These are the people that know that even when it's 100 degrees, they're still going to get the workout in, because we know the data in terms of it. Our synapses firing better. We're better physical condition. That are not giving up sleep, because they know we need that just to regenerate ourselves, and are willing to give the right people airtime, because we know there are not a lot of folks that really want to do the hard work, the heavy lift, to be the better them.
Thank you, Nicole, for all the insights you've been able to share. And I just want to throw a conversation across to our audience. Please, to everyone who's listening to this discussion today, do well to send in your questions if you have any. Your comments will be very much appreciated. Let us know where you're joining us from. Feel free to send that in. And also, you can also send the questions to my DM. I'm very open to receive them. At least I do get that a lot. And I can always throw that across to our guest here, who would respond to all of them. And if you're yet to share the link across to your folks, please do also. This is the time. You can use this time to share it across. Let them join us either through browser or YouTube or Twitter. If you can't stay on LinkedIn, you can as well use the browser to join and engage in this very discussion today. Okay, so coming back to the topic of today, emphasis on creating a lasting brand, right? I was doing a little bit of dig up, right, to just look at some very amazing brands that have stood the test of time, passed through different economic systems, different economic crises, right? Different war times and all of that. And looking at amazing brand like Coca-Cola, right? Coca-Cola is doing a whole lot. I've seen different bottles like from from time being, and it's still rebranding every day. You wake up, you're seeing different stuff pushing up, right? So what are the key elements for other brands who are looking to stay for long term and probably maybe do better than Coca-Cola, or even get, always get better and keep getting better? What do you think are some of those key elements that business like that should be looking out for?
So the first is not knowing what you want to do, your why. I instruct any individual or team that comes to speak with me, why are you even, what is the personal why to why you want to wake up in the morning and do whatever you're going to do, right? And so that for me is tangential. The second thing is, um, once you know what that why is and how that manifests, are you looking to create a new brand? That ideation process has to be aligned to something bigger than you. And we've talked about that already. For giggles, again, in preparing for this conversation, I did some research. Again, research is my friend. Somewhere is the truth, right? And in the documentation that I sent you, an organization called Brand Think highlighted the top 10 strategies for building a lasting brand. And I looked at it, and I'm actually not in full agreement. So the first, commit to the process, we've already kind of talked to that. It is what it is. You can't cheat the process. You've got to go through and really understand that why, and unpack it and get the data points from that. The second, think like an investor. Just so you know, that's one of the ones that I have a little bit of angst, because, if you really look at VCs and PEs here stateside, the majority of the investors do not look like us. In fact, only 8% roughly of, 6% of the VC community are people of color, and only 1% of minority owned businesses actually get VC money. And so I don't even really look at that. In terms of thinking like an investor, yes. Am I always trying to find the unicorn in any project? Of course. But I'm a different investor. Maybe it's an investor of passion and purpose. The other lists of the 10, pull back the curtain. There's, again, these things will be in the link. But one of the things that, again, another challenging item was remove personal bias. Now, when you're creating your brand, I'm saying, no, I don't want to remove personal bias. That's what makes me unique, and that's what makes me me. It doesn't mean everyone needs to agree with me. But if I have a handful of tenants that I will not stray from, that you cannot force this brand to be a brand that is certain things that I will not agree to, then no, I am going to speak my truth. I am going to potentially apply some lens of personal bias, never to offend, but to at least create boundaries. And I think in today's environment, the respect is coming from those that are saying, you know what, I can respectfully agree to disagree. Here's why, right? That's where I think we are now seeing a lot of young people not able to, not even, I don't even put it on, because actually there are a lot of amazing, we're seeing different factions of people from all walks of life, I'll put it that way, that we're not able to articulate in our own way why our boundaries are our boundaries, and why the brand we are attempting to create resonates for us. And so that would be another one in terms of strategies for building a lasting brand. Be true to who you are, what you do, let the research back it up, because today's human want to ask questions. They want to know why you think and move and do differently than someone else. Is if you have 5 talents, right? Or better yet, 5 nickels, you have a choice of what you do with them. And in today's time, we don't want to bury them. We need to expand exponentially on those talents, those dollars, those nickels, whatever monetization factor you want to choose from whatever country, and determine how to double, triple down on those, so that you can wake up and say, job well done, and keep fighting the fight. That's the difference between giving up and saying, today was a rough day, tomorrow's going to be better, let's get it in. What did we learn if it didn't go well? So strategies, keep your chin up, stay in the research, but don't let research drill and kill. Use it as validation points to always continue to perfect what you're doing.
Thank you very much, Nikhil, for, when I get to when I sit down again to remember when we first met, and you shared your experience on how you've been able to cut across different levels of education, different levels of business, how you've been able to cut across both the corporate space, work with the government. And I must say right now, and I feel very satisfied, right, having this discussion, because it's like a personal discussion, having to tell myself, oh, okay, it means, and now with the manager is going to be looking at planning the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and even 100 years from now, where we'll have more people who will be comfortable sitting down wherever they are to watch an hour with the manager's discussion, to learn and gain informations. And yes, talking about building a lasting brand, like you mentioned, it's knowing your why, it's understanding what really drives what you want to do and how far you want to go, because you might be looking at competition, right? I'm always sharing this across, like, with my team members, right? It's not about the competition, but it's how long do you plan to stay in the game, right? Because you might hurriedly be looking at competing with the next person, not knowing that this person has a very long-term strategy, right? And he's not in a hurry to implement all of them, and you're in a hurry to bring up all the strategy, do all the things in less than 6 months. You're doing everything, and at the end of the day, you don't get those results, and you complain and say, oh, no, 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 I did a bad job, not knowing it's the approach that mattered the most. You want to say something?
Yeah, no, I was going to say knowing what your exit strategy is very important, because regardless of where you start, you hit it. You can't do everything and then give yourself a limit of a time period. That's not realistic. And so when I meet with, clients and or hear them pitch what they do, now if they start with exit strategy, I'm already done. I'm done, because if you're already looking at something as I just want to make my money, and no, this is not. I'm not here to help companies that only see dollars and when I make all this money, I'm gonna. That's not who I'm trying to inspire and support. And I've probably said far more no's to yeses in terms of the types of clients that I will support, because I work hard and I'm not going to just help put money in your pocket. I want to make the world a better place. And it may sound cheesy, but that is truly kind of how I believe in what I do. But I've also looked at enough companies and have done enough research to know why a lot of our companies fail. And part of that is just seeing this as a way to make a quick dollar. Now, unfortunately, we know it takes money to make money. It
Yeah.
takes it takes those that are passionate and believe in the why of why we're doing it, which because they it's bigger than them. But if we're so focused on, oh, this one, like when companies come to me and the first thing they say is, oh, Nikhil, if you help me with this, we're going to make a lot of money. And I look and I'm like, that to me, making money is a byproduct of doing what your passion is. It's
Okay.
not work, it's purpose, right? So that's why even when I speak to young people that are even first time, and their families going to college or just graduating from high school or from college, these type of, you are in a space to learn and meet and understand how people move and who they present themselves, and you yourself. We are changing. If we're not learning and growing every day, then shame on us. That should be a part of our daily mantra, part of our daily practice, is to seek wisdom and be better. But in today's environment, if you're trying to monetize off the bat and it starts with how much money I can make, we've got a problem. So I'm not the one to try to force people to come up with some altruistic plan that is, free. I'm not that either, because I also don't work for free. I know my worth. But what we need to do is to find harmony in the why, the how, the who, the where. What does this look like? Our entry in from ideation to entering into a space that we're piloting whatever it is we've built. I work with a lot of clients that are trying to come in and do business here stateside. I've got folks here stateside trying to see how to expand globally to other markets. That cross section has a lot of interesting tidbits in terms of how what the world needs and how we as a single person, whether we're a solopreneur or we're an entrepreneur or we're a small business, all of these types of thoughts should not be one and done. This happens over time. I believe that the more communication you have, if you do have a team, is critical to the viability of your company. Because again, remember, we're all different. We're all different, coming with different thoughts, different ages, different backgrounds. The more opportunities we can, I take our common thoughts as well as those that aren't common, and test our strategies, and move them from a test space or pilot to transforming them into something that we know the world needs, or there are individuals that need whatever we're selling, whether it's a service, a book, a presentation, or an actual physical product. These types of gatherings, this type of transformation, it doesn't happen by itself. And I found, after being with a number of thoughtful thought leaders and studying growth mindset and understanding what it takes to push a thought or move something and transform it to another space, sometimes you really need to do that offsite. Sometimes you really need people to lower the shield. Let's have some honest conversation. There's nothing cruel. We want to respect each other, but we need to know what we're good at, what we want to do. And sometimes individuals don't even know what they're capable of because no one gave them enough credit. They took, but they didn't pour in. And so we have to do that for ourselves. We have to say, I'm here for a reason. What is the reason? And how can I double down on that? And how can I help others do this, or help even friends and family do this? And that, to me, is how we're building a better space and place for the right types of businesses, services, tools, resources, products. That's where I believe we need to go, if we're going to make the world better.
Talking about building, taking up credits and building up confidence. And I think I mentioned this when we started the discussion, that one of the, if I were to be asked, maybe I should pick maybe one industry to look out for, or maybe one skill to look out for. Would I call it a skill? I would say entrepreneurship should be part of an extreme sport. If you're mentioning list of extreme sports, I mean, you should include entrepreneurship, because the journey is never very smooth. It's not very interesting. It's very boring. It's very lonely. And but the success ahead, it's always very amazing when you get to cut across the connections you get to meet, people you need to meet. I think that alone is a lot of satisfaction, right? And it's good. It's good to hear this and still find confidence in understanding most of.
You are so not alone, Yubong. I mean, at the end of the day, again, if everyone, and some people have more than one dream, right? They're like, I have this great idea, right? Some are fortunate to have multiple and be able to literally pour into all of them and see them manifest and do something. But again, I think every person has at least one. There are myriad of organizations that have put themselves out there to help streamline some of the operational challenges that some startups face, right? So I agree. I wish everyone could have the chance of becoming an entrepreneur or solopreneur, because building a business is not easy. And yes, there are long nights where it's just you and your computer. And like, I know I'm doing this for a reason. And if you have a significant other, they're looking at you like, what are you doing over there? And you're just like, I've got an idea. And to those that have wonderful families and friends to pour into, you should always have 2 to 3 people that when it gets tough, that you call and just say, listen, I may not have $5, but I have a cup of coffee or a cookie or something and a hug, and I'm here to listen to you and a tissue, because that's the other part of of entrepreneurship is that not every day is a great day and not every day is a bad day, but we have to
But,
learn from each day and make the next day better.
because, while you were talking about education and the guys you've worked with, I got a question from my DM, right? Talking about K20 education in particular, right? You know, I don't know what it feels like over there, but we do see this online on the internet talking about integrating, what do you call it? Let me not say what it feels like, because in some institutions over here in Nigeria, right, in Africa, we have that already imputed, not very popular, not very common. But how is STEM education, right, impacting the global space? How is it impacting the future of business?
So that's a doozy, and I don't even know if we have enough time to cover it. So there at one point, and you'll still see grants that have STEM or STEAM or STREAM, so incorporating arts, reading, to make it in another acronym. But for me and how I'm viewing it, I'm looking at it from data points that show what is it, and then what are the population of people that are being educated on it. Unfortunately, from the data that I have viewed, there are very few folks that are diverse that are getting to me transformative instruction on supporting skills that will be needed in the 21st century. Companies that I have collaborated with that are kicking the door in and trying to introduce instruction that is being literally created and shared at the higher ed or college level, right? That 1320. But then being then delivered in a smaller thumbnail, but still extensive at the K-12 level. And there are now several districts around the US that have realized, and this goes back to really amazing leadership, I can't keep teaching these kids the way they were taught 20 years ago. We almost need to backwards map that. What are the skills that are going to be needed in a 21st century continuum? And what are those jobs? What do they look like? They continue to morph. And then what we need to do, and what we're starting to see in pockets, is K-12 district leadership, higher ed as well, create content to deliver and support these new skills that these kids will need, that our educators need. And so, I know I'm not here to prop up any of my clients and I'm not, but there's one out there in particular that I know when he sees it, he's going to say, Cotton, you're talking about us. And I am. Because this one particular CEO speaks the future and what is needed so frequently that if I could clone this gentleman and his company for the world, I would. And they're also doing some great things also here stateside as well as Jamaica. But we have to figure out, what don't we know? At a minimum, what can we do with what we know today? But what we do know is we can't keep doing the same thing. And what makes it even worse is if we are finding that here stateside, we look at everything around proficiency, right? English preference, reading and math proficiency. And we're looking at it across all of our different student subgroups. You've got some districts in the United States with single digit proficiency in reading and math. Now,
Okay.
guess what? When you look at STEM or STEAM or STREAM, what does it assume? You need that you can read and that you can do math.
Of course.
Single digit proficiency, there should be an alarm going in areas that are not evaluating different solutions to get these kids and these adults ready for what's to come. And so we have to shake it up. We have to lean on our corporate partners and sponsors to help us do what we have to do. Because obviously, if it was that simple, it would have already been done. It doesn't work that way. So we've got to lean on our communities. We've got to give, if it takes a fear tactic of, if we don't get these kids educated and our teachers excited about teaching this new instructional material, we have to figure it out. and it's going to take a village. So still,
Sorry. Do you think organizations should maybe partner with communities to make that work, or it should
most,
be?
most definitely. Um, in my again, I was trained to be a superintendent, and when I went through the course, and I'm like, you cannot pay me. No, I was like, no, thank you. But one of the things that I heard loudly, and with all the organizations and projects that I'm working on, it is very necessary that not only do our school systems, the schools themselves, the districts themselves, whether they be private or public, have community partners, because guess what? These babies, these kids, they're in your community. And when they grow up or skip school or not graduate, they're in your backyard. So it's a family affair. These are our children, right? We have to do what we need to do to protect our community, and to make sure that the partners vested in doing it understand the just the amazing things that our leadership and education have to do, and they do it tirelessly. Educators work not just 5 days a week from eight. This is not an eight to no. Our teachers are working oftentimes 7 days a week, going in an hour and a half before a bell starts and staying until the wee hours, just because they want to make sure that what these kids are getting, and to the point of what we talked about at the beginning of the hour, it's relevant. I don't want to read something that doesn't look like me, or I'm that I can't relate to. And so that's the other part of it, is making everything we see and do relevant, impactful, exciting, and purposeful.
You know, while you were while you were sharing about the whole process of organizations, coming together with businesses, and I remember a discussion I had with my sister some days back, talking about companies who request for 15 years of experience and are probably looking for people who are of age 23 and age 23 to 25, and I'm like, you're looking for 10 to 15 years of experience, and you're looking for people who are of age 23 to 25. What age do you think they're going to be done with school, and what
You
age we're expecting them to have a professional career, and then have a good reputable brand to work with, and then come work in your firm?
You know what? And it's hilarious because you are seeing a lot. I've seen young kids get jobs at six figures, and I'm like, how in the world did they do that? And you see a lot of others get aged out, which now people have become more creative about, how they generate revenue. And it's all over the place. Because my mother was a teacher, I will always say education is important, and it's the I don't want to say it's the easiest, but it's the one denominator that no matter where you are in the world, hopefully you're afforded education, and it is going to help you at least hone your skills and at least understand how you could fit within any organization, if not create your own. And so that's something that I will always rally to support my educators, because they're my firefighters on a daily basis for me. And so the companies that I talk to typically are serving our teachers. If you're familiar at all with what's happening here stateside, we've got teacher shortages. We've got folks screaming and trying to do things or it's just can be very messy. And then you add the teachers don't want to hear anything new. I don't want to learn anything new. I don't want to do anything new. But the
And
thing
that's a big problem.
but we have to deal with that, right? So we've got to find solutions that give them a different view of doing what we've asked them to do, not making it easy, but giving them a different lens so that they can be more than what they were, but not make it so complicated. And there are things out there that are helping in that world. But honestly, you've got to make sure that people are in it to win it. So passion. If you're not passionate about being a teacher, then quit.
you know you know but first, what I'm going to say is, for them to looking at what they call it, to review curriculums, because the curriculums we get to see sometimes are very much outdated, right? Looking at some parts of the world, like see China, right, where you have 5 years, 10-year-old kids, producing, working on some very little technical stuff, fixing phone parts, getting to get their brains experience with those things before they reach age 18. They're already on a very different level, thinking differently, thinking of how to even build something you can easily get with your hands. Not at age 18 you're still rallying around thinking of where you want to start and what you don't need to do. But education itself plays a very important role. In as much as it is important, in as much as it is very good, it is very effective. But for me, I think the approach at which we see education today is not what I'm really looking at as a long term, except those things would change, whereby integrating the reality, which is skilled education, like what we're discussing here today, talking about bringing in skilled education for people to know that it's more, it goes to this world goes beyond just sitting out in the classroom to listen to 1+1+2+ this. It's as you're learning, you're putting into practice, you're at least you're getting royalties from it, you're getting benefit from it. That's very motivating. It might not be in cash value today, but the benefit you're getting is something that you know that okay, that's enough motivation for me to continue to do it, for me to continue to learn. Where you know that when you get to age 10, you get to age 18, you should be able to get the best out of what you were learning for free, right? Or what you were learning with much energy, with much pains, and trying to get the best out of it. So, education is good. Education is good, and I'm very very sure we'll be able to make the best out of it. But for
Yeah.
Q Factor, right? For Q Factor, what's the plan for Q Factor for the educational space? Looking at the next 10 years, looking at future to come.
Great question. So I am in the midst of putting together a VIP leadership space that will help incubate some of these thoughts that I've been having. There are so many wonderful colleagues that I have either looking to retire from superintendency or from whatever chief position that they have, but realizing that we've got to hand the baton over to the next generation of
Of
thought
course.
leaders to make sure that we don't repeat the same mistakes. And so, because I do speak with so many startups and companies that are looking to transition or transform where they are from today, I'm pretty much putting a lot behind on the line to create an actual brick and mortar location that really will be have a beach setting. And for those that are research friendly, they know that when you ground in the sand, when you have the smell of the salt and you can see that ocean with the sun on your back, that there's a transformational experience that you have that can push you into another chapter, that can give you the energy and the guidance to go to the extra mile to kind of kick the doors in from where you are right now. And so moving forward, as I get a little longer in the tooth, the goal is to continue to help maturing companies, to help those that are looking to move more deeply into new territories, whether it be to leave and do something beyond state borders or have someone come in this way. Again, I appreciate and I've been enjoying being a spokesperson or a creator of purpose for people around the world. And that's how we make sure that we keep that human touch, that we stay in tune with what's happening on a global basis, and that we don't get lost in our own head in a single dwelling. So those are some of the things, lots of new projects, and supporting a lot of thought leaders that have said, Cotton, you're the one, and Q Factor's the way. So helping pour into brands that amplify my beliefs and us being better humanitarians.
That's going to be some job to do, right?
I listen. I will wake myself up and say, "There are no lazy lima beans in this house."
All
So
right.
I've had them
Yeah.
all.
We're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to that. Thank you for sharing that. And I think we've successfully hit an hour, 3 minutes into this discussion. And I'm going to say very much thank you, because if I have to push on for the questions I'm having already regarding the educational part, I think education is a very hot topic and it's something we need to review again. Come August, we're going to have that discussion again to talk about education, because if we don't plan now, I don't know when next we're going to plan. If we don't plan for the future today, I don't know when next we're going to plan. And I really appreciate the insights you've been able to share with us. And please be rest assured to everyone who's listening that you're going to have a slide. We'll send the slide attached to our email, our newsletter rather, next week, Tuesday. We're going to make a publication of this very live podcast. So please stay tuned on our newsletter, subscribe to it on LinkedIn, or that's our email newsletters, right? You get access to these PDFs so that you can consume it and also use it to plan for the future, and also use it to build a successful and lasting brand, because it's not easy to just carry the journey yourself, right? You need people around you to, to help reduce the stress for you. So before we wrap up this discussion, please, Nicole, do you have any word for our audience who have been able to stay with us for the past 1 hour, and something to go back or leave them with?
I would say if you're in the process of creating a new anything, take the time to be in a quiet space and ask for guidance of who that person is. Who is it that you are trying to be, and do the proper level of ideation that will allow you to listen and hear and feel what you're getting back. Because if you're just trying to do something because somebody else did it, that's their dream. That's not your dream. And the goal will be for you to be truly happy, joyful, excited to wake up and not ready to go to sleep, is when you are creating a brand that's your baby, that you are the one to execute that solution or that service or whatever that is. Because it's not work, it's purpose. So that would be my final thought.
I'll live with that. And living a life of purpose. Thank you very much for sharing that. And thank you very much, everybody who's joining us from everywhere, from every part of the world. We really appreciate the time you spent with us. And we're looking forward to see you next Thursday by 8 p.m. Please don't forget, always come with a friend, always come with a colleague, always come with a loved one if possible, right? Sit down, get your water, get your glass of wine. Let's sit down and dialogue together, get to share information together. And always feel free to send in your comments ahead of time. My DM is always open. If you can't send it in the comments box, please send in your questions, send your suggestions, and I'll always bring them up on board. Even after this discussion, if you have anything pending, when you consume the what do you call it, the PDF, I'll be sending the slide from our guest. You can as well send in your questions, and I'm sure Nicole will be available to respond to every one of you. And don't forget to follow Nicole across platforms, engage, and get the best output from it, because she's a very wonderful person doing amazing thing. And I believe if we can bring ourselves together, because the future of work is collaboration, the future of work is partnership. In partnership, we can get the best output from it. And that is why we're also partnering with every one of you who is listening to us to get the best result and also bring quality information to you. So we'll be leaving you guys today until this time next Thursday by 8 p.m. Have a good day, good night, and good morning from wherever you're joining us from. Thank you.
Thank you.